Extract from Chapter 8. Vedis hitched his pace, and Azdush shot a glance at the sound they had both heard. Informed either by her own keen hearing or by their sudden movements, if minute, Maeva tightened her arm around his waist and also glanced around.
Trouble?
It's never far, he answered, reorganizing the lion's path. Wild lions or wild trolls. Best not to tangle with either. They had been following a low, gravelly gorge, but he steered their mount leftward, away from the telltale sound. The dawn was yet some hours off, and they had far to go if they were to catch up Ashira. Changing course would cost them time and run the risk of losing the trail altogether, but it was better than waiting for danger to find them. Vedis leapt upon a ledge, and from there to a spur. Thence he made it to a small outcrop, his riders jouncing with each landing, Maeva's grasp squeezing hard as she avoided looking down. She had never ridden either a lion or a horse before meeting Azdush. He stroked the creature's mane as they contemplated the cliff's edge.
Fuck.
Stuck? Asked the woman behind him.
He could probably make this without us, but we can't without him.
Oh. Great.
She turned her head to look behind them.
Shit.
Azdush looked back too.
Fuck.
The faint moonlight revealed to his keen eyes the gradual shifting of a large shape, to his ears the sound of clicking and padding as it cautiously bore itself across the valley floor.
Troll, yeah?
Asked Maeva. Big one. How many arrows do you have?
7. Count on 3 hits in this light. Maybe 4 if it gets close and is as big as you say.
Aim for the throat. It's a slower kill than the eye, but a bigger target.
Can it get up here?
They can get up almost anywhere.
Then we should get down again and run for it, no?
If we can. Sometimes they're alone, sometimes they commune in troughs. Might run into more. Azdush touched his heels to Vedis's flanks, and the cat made another leap to another ledge. This one ran down at a slope. They could hear their stalker following on the stony floor below. An opportunity presented itself. A crevice between 2 spurs. Its approach was, for them, a short drop, which would bring them briefly closer to danger before they could head uphill, and from the ledge he could not tell if it came out at the top or to another dead end. Alone, he would not have hesitated, but he thought of Maeva and considered his options. The next platform was a far leap, but slightly downhill. It would take them further into the canyon, where they would immediately have to rely on the aging lion's speed after traveling more than half the night. He nudged, and Vedis responded, landing heavily on the steep path below. Up the crevice they climbed, as behind them came the clamor and clangor of claws in the scree, the scorching breath of their hunter sounding like trumpets as it ceased any essay in stealth. A sound any war-orc knew well in those parts. Vedis, shivering, skittered with all his strength up the narrow path. The blue-black sky and all its stars that would loomed wide as they surmounted the ridge. Now on slightly more even ground, the cat took off like an arrow, wary of what he knew for peril. Casting a backward glance, Azdush cursed again.
Is it following us?
Asked his companion. And how? I don't like to keep this pace with a precipice on either side.
I'll try a shot.
Best make it count. He let Vedis choose his own direction for the nonce, eyes darting ahead to watch for further danger as the troll closed in behind them. They were not especially fast creatures, but Vedis was not an especially young lion, and neither of the riders could hope to outdistance it on foot. Maeva's arm left his waist, and he heard the rattle as she drew an arrow from her quiver. Her elbow knocked against the back of his head as she struggled to stay in the saddle and draw the weapon at the same time. Chuff! He heard the arrow strike flesh, and the flesh groan in pain. But only a slight hitch caught the scrabbling footsteps behind them. He reined right, and Vedis took a high path rather than a low one. The claws kept coming behind them. The arrows rattled again. Hold off until I say, he shouted. I'll try to get you some flat ground.
Make it snappy.
Her balance shifted as she knocked her second shaft. For the moment, Vedis held and increased their lead, but trolls were dogged creatures. usually possessing great stamina. This one had not yet accumulated a trough to their pursuit, so it was likely alone, drawn to new territory by the abundance of dead meat and the scarcity of competition. They descended a shallow cliff in a single abrupt leap, then sped between two rocky uprises to a long and narrow passage he had seen ahead. On either side, the ground sloped down into a valley, the one on the right being that through which their quarry had passed. "Now!" he shouted. The bow sang, and tough skin split. The hunter bellowed in rage, but was still only briefly slowed. "Hey, Maeve?
Yeah?
I've got a crazy idea. I would definitely do it alone." She peered over his shoulder at the path ahead. A shift in her weight told him she was looking back again.
God's feet! Okay,
Her right arm grasped him tight as her left tucked in with the bow.
do it.
He drove directly at the spur he had seen. Here the gentle slope once more became craggy and jagged. A passage of about 200 yards led them to a place where one side of the gorge approached but did not meet the other. Sensing his intention, Vedas discarded his fatigue to put on one last burst of speed. His hind paws dealt the near cliff a slow but powerful blow. And if you want to find out how they land, you're just gonna have to read it yourself.